Hello once again, and Tony here with a review of the sequel to Frosty the Snowman, which is Frosty's Winter Wonderland, which was released to ABC 7 years after the original Frosty the Snowman on December 2, 1976. Returning as the directors are Jules Bass and Arthur Rankin Jr. Returning as the writer for this Christmas special was Romeo Muller. And then we also have Jackie Vernon returning as Frosty alongside Paul Frees as the other male characters, but this time he returns as Jack Frost. And then co-starring with them are Shelley Hines, Manfred Olea, Eric Stern, Barbara Jo Ewing, and the Wee Winter Singers as the children, and we even get introduced to Shelley Winters as Crystal, the Snow Lady. Now, I had no idea that the sequel was being made until I found out on Wikipedia. So I decided to catch the sequel on YouTube myself, and I have to say, the sequel is pretty good, I have to say. In fact, it's quite on par with the original. So let's see what made it on par with the original, starting with the story. Now, the story takes off where we last left off, but unlike the original, Karen is no longer here in this Christmas special because it's such a shame, because Karen was also the catalyst of what really moved the plot and what really defined Frosty the Snowman. But still, she gets replaced with a lot of these other children, but we don't really know the names of the main two children, which are the boy and the girl. You don't really know their names. But it's easy to say that the story manages to really be good, especially with the introduction of Jack Frost, who also manages to add a little bit of mischievousness in the whole plot. Not to mention the whole plot of Frosty wanting a wife is also quite poignant and really is touching to really put a lot more dimension into this wonderful character. So the story for a sequel and even as a standalone film is actually pretty good. Then we get to the animation, which is still in 2D, but it's also quite good as well. I have to say that it's slightly a step up from the original, and it still manages to maintain its colorful and very simple quality very well and use it to its advantage. The music is equally as memorable, especially with the addition of Winter Wonderland, probably what also has to be one of my most favorite Christmas songs of all time. And it's still very great. And then we also have the likes of Andy Griffith, who also provides the narration and even the songs for this film. He does a very fine job with the singing as well, and more on his narration later. But still, the music is definitely very well done. With the characters, Frosty is still Frosty, he still is lovable self. Crystal is just as lovable and just as memorable as well. And then we even have the character of Parson Brown, who's also memorable, even though he doesn't really have a lot of screen time. And then the villain, Jack Frost, who is absolutely hilarious and pretty much stole the show for me. The other children, starting with the head children of the boy and the girl, are actually great in their own characters, but here's one thing. We don't really get to know their names, which is kind of sad, but still, they are good characters, and Frosty and even Crystal managed to really keep up their warm and loving nature to a T. The voice acting is just as great. With Jackie Vernon returning as Frosty, he was absolutely fantabulous in this role. And then we have Shelley Winters as Crystal. Now, I definitely like Shelley Winters in a lot of character roles, and even her roles in Cleopatra Jones, in which she plays the main villain, Mommy. In this one, she gives a very warm and very affectionate portrayal of Crystal. And then we have Paul Frees voicing Jack Frost, who gives a very fun and fine portrayal of this mischievous trickster. And then we even have the likes of, let's see right here, Dennis Day as Parson Brown, and even the Snowman version of Parson Brown, who gives a very fatherly performance as him. And as the children, we have Shelley Hines, Manfred Olea, Eric Stern, Barbara Jo Ewing, and the Wee Winter Singers giving such very fine and very, very sweet performances as the children. So overall, what more can I say about the sequel? It's totally on par with the original Frosty. Even though there were some elements that kind of faltered a bit, they were more than forgiven. And with that said, I give the sequel a well-deserved 4 out of 5. It's definitely still worthwhile watching. It still maintains that warm, fuzzy spirit that Frosty the Snowman had, and with the additional characters, I felt like they managed to support the sequel very well. And tune in later where I review pretty much what has to be Rankin Bass's most ambitious project, in which they crossed over Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in Rudolph's and Frosty's Christmas in July. So until then, stay tuned for that.